Hey folks, Zach Osterman here, Insider Indianapolis Star, talking to you about Illinois 94, Indiana 69. I'll be honest, I've covered this team for 17, 18 years. If you go back to my time as a student, and I don't think I've ever covered a game that was worse than this. Maybe a couple that were, in the neighborhood of as bad, contextualized by the different eras and things that, kind of Indiana was going through. But I try not to be try not to do hyperbole too much, in writing or in videos like this. It is hard to get away from, though. I mean, this was the most points an opponent had ever scored, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Most first half points Indiana had ever allowed inside Assembly Hall. It was the second largest margin of defeat in Indiana's history inside Assembly Hall, behind only February 2010 loss to Wisconsin. I covered that game too. Obviously, this is back-to-back 25-point losses for Indiana in Big Ten play. And it's not even like Illinois just kind of shot the cover off the ball. I mean, Illinois was 30 of 75 from the floor. Had some volume to its three-point shooting, made 11 threes, but only shot 34% from behind the arc. It's not like everything Illinois put up went in. The first half was a little bit more that way. In fairness, I think that's, again, the first half's where the game really gets away from Indiana. But even then, Illinois shoots under 50% from the floor. Shoots 8 of 19 from three. But it's, that's a high number, but it's not a, oh my God, what happened kind of number. 10 of 12 from the free throw line. It was just kind of a little bit of everything, frankly. And it just felt so much like Indiana lost kind of just all of its poise. Actually started the game well. It was 10-8 at 17:08 left in the first half, and by the time Indiana got to 12 points, Illinois had scored 15 more, and Illinois just kind of got up 27-12 around the under 12 media timeout, and then it just kind of kept ballooning and ballooning and ballooning, and it was just kind of, again, it just kind of felt like Indiana kind of lost its poise, its focus, its edge, its effort. Anthony Leal and Luke Goody were both, I thought, very candid post-game. I'm looking up at my monitor here. I'm sorry that I'm not looking at the camera, but, I asked Anthony Leal just kind of about kind of fixing the defense as an example, and he said, this is a quote. He said, "There are a lot of defensive schemes we can run. It really doesn't matter what we're doing if we're not going to do it hard with effort and toughness. That's what it comes down to." Luke Goody said, "We're not playing tough enough. We need to come out and be ready and stick to the game plan and the scouting report. That's been our biggest issue." And they were defiant too. Luke Goody said, and Anthony Leal, kind of co-signed this. Somebody asked him about the crowd because tonight, at one point, the student section was on its feet chanting "Fire Mike Woodson." It was very audible. There was no question what they were chanting. And Goody wasn't asked about that specifically, but he was asked about the crowd, and there were some boos as well, and just obviously some perhaps understandably negative energy. And Goody said, quote, "I understand that we got embarrassed. We have to wear this jersey with more pride as Indiana players. This program is too historical and too great to be represented like that. But to all those fans that were booing and are so negative on social media, just don't switch sides. We will get this thing turned around. We've got all the confidence in our teammates, got the confidence in our coaches, so stay on this side when we start being successful again." It is hard, even as someone who, is kind of constantly banging the drum for the idea that not every game can be a referendum on the direction of a program. And that's not just specific to Indiana. That is a phenomenon that I think is just kind of permeated sports in the social media era. And that's not, this is all the ills of social media. But what I mean is, in a time when there is a direct line from, sort of a fan base to the narrative around its program or its franchise or its club or whatever. And that line can be open permanently. then at times that line is going to be flooded with emotional responses, and it's going to sort of, it's going to be pushed hard in emotional directions, good or bad. And so this idea of sort of, toxicity on social media, and you know things being blown out of proportion or taken out of context, and certainly this idea of kind of, everything becoming a referendum on the direction of a season, a team, a program, whatever. Even allowing for that, um, I don't think it's even acknowledging that I'm trying to kind of stay away from that. I don't think it is unreasonable to say it feels like this season's kind of reached a break point now. And I think it's obviously kind of surprising that Indiana's gotten there in the way that it has after winning 5 in a row, winning 9 of 10, um, looking so good in the Penn State game, to a certain extent, even in that USC game. Um, but these back-to-back 25-point losses, and the way that, kind of everyone involved has responded, it does kind of feel like, for better or worse, the direction this season takes is kind of going to be decided here in, I would say, the next, you know, 10 to 12 days, probably. Indiana's at Ohio State, then at Northwestern, and then Maryland at home. And we'll see where they are on the other side of all that. But needless to say, again, it's certainly not hyperbole to say this is one of the ugliest Indiana games I've ever covered, especially that first half, obviously. And Indiana clearly has some work to do very quickly to kind of, pull its season back onto the track and direction that it felt, just a few days ago, like it kind of had it on, fairly comfortably. So Hoosiers are 13-5. They're 4-3 in the Big Ten. As I said, they're at Ohio State Friday night between now and then. For the Indiana, one programming note: if you've made it this far into the video, no podcast tonight. Obviously, it's just me. We will have a podcast on, in all likelihood, Wednesday. Just felt like maybe it made more sense to, kind of pull back a little bit and be able to take greater stock of just the direction everything's headed with these last couple games, and just kind of where everything is. So we will have either Wednesday or Thursday a full Mind Your Banners. But until then, for the Indianapolis Star, I'm Zach Osterman. Thank you so much for watching. We will talk to you soon.